terracotta pot with some potting mix. So that's a rooting hormone powder. So to talk about this plant, Peperomia Graveolens is really a beautiful plant to have, because it's the foliage is so good. It's not only fleshy, but it's also attractive because of the dual color. It's like it's got green on the upper part and red on the rest of the plant, actually the stem and the bottom side of the leaves. So pretty catchy, and it's something which is not that rare, because I think a lot of nurseries have taken cuttings and they've started to promote this plant. So Peperomia graveolens is actually a succulent. So you can see flowers sometimes during spring and summer, but it doesn't flower like the other peperomias, like bunches. It flowers only when it wants. So I have these many cuttings in this pot, and it's been there for like more than a year, and I've seen only one flower. So yeah, as I said, it's not that fond of producing flowers, I would say. This plant is very easy to care for. If you've seen the tag that comes along with it, it'll say the tips, care tips. I'll give it a better view. I'll pause it for a second so you can take a look. So I've got it from Lifestyle Botanics in Auckland. So to talk about propagation, I have already created a cutting from this plant, and I've put it in another pot where I used to propagate other plants, and it's still alive for like 6 months in the same pot, but it's hardly produced any roots. Not sure if you can see, but yeah, it's a very tender root. So I would just keep it in this pot. Probably doesn't. There's a node. Looks like it's rotten, but I could still go ahead and put it in a slanting way. So what happens is, or like this. So what happens is this part gets covered. There's another chance of roots getting produced from this end here. So I would cover this part with some coco peat, and yeah, so I'll just leave it like that for some time. And then I did some experiment with the leaf cutting. A lot of people say that Peperomia graveolens cannot be propagated with the leaf cutting, but I did test it, and I saw that there were roots coming out from just a leaf cutting. I'll just give it a clean. There are the roots. So I would just leave it like that. And then I also did another test with 2 other leaves. So this is sitting here for like 6 months, and I would like to just take it out and see what's in it. So carefully, not to break anything inside. I don't know what it is. What is it like? Nothing. So for 6 months it's been sitting there. So just give it a benefit of doubt and see if it can produce any roots. So let's see the second one. Second one looks a little okay, but not that great. So technically Peperomia Graveolens need a little bit of a stems element to be successfully propagated, but at this point I think we'll just take stem cuttings and some more from there. I'll let you know how we can cut it from there. So I'm gonna take some cuttings from this side because this is in a hanging basket and this part of the plant is actually leaning towards sunlight, so the pot's like this when it's hanging and it's not maintaining the balance. So what you need to do is take some rooting hormone powder, yeah, so keep it aside, and I will take the first cutting from here. Yeah, that's one cut. So it's got. So what you need to do is concentrate on places like, you know, where there's a bump, so like this. This part actually is capable of producing roots. So all it needs is a part of the stem, a node, which can produce roots. If you can see, there are small aerial roots already popping up. So there are better chances of the plant to survive and produce new shoots, because if you've given 3 elements like the stem, the root, the stem, the root and the leaf, it's got better chances of producing another plant. So I would cut one here, one. So I would keep cutting and then I will leave the top. So I'll keep cutting until here and then separate the leaves and then dip it into rooting hormone and then plant it over there. So let's do that. Okay, so which is the cut end? So this one. Put it to the pot. I will be topping up with some more soil. So as of now, I'm just keeping it like that. It's pretty easy to cut, actually. It's plumpy. So 2. And then I would cut it from here. So it's easy to identify this plant's top portion because the top portion has the green end. So you don't get confused with the portion that has to be on the top. So easy. So you put one here, and then I'll just take off these leaves, but I will still plant them. Yeah. There you go. I think I can take one more. So this kind of a cutting will actually be a proper plant because it's got all 3 elements. It's got a node, it's got a leaf, and it's got a stem. Put it to the rooting hormone powder so that it doesn't get decayed. And then I will just chop off these leaves. All right. There are already leaves falling off. So yeah, I will put this end into the rooting hormone powder, and then just tap off the excess hormone powder, and then just place it like that, nice and easy. Okay, so you can take the leaves, don't need to waste it. So just dip the cut end of the petiole, put it inside the rooting hormone, and then dip it onto the soil. So yeah, these leaves are actually more capable of producing roots, because as you see, it's got a bit of a stem on it. So I believe that's what happened with the previous leaf which I showed you, which has produced roots. Yeah, so here are 3 major ways that you can actually propagate the Peperomia graveolens. I get confused. So what I'll be doing next is slowly tap off some soil. Okay, by topping up some soil, what we're really doing is actually not disturbing what we have done so far. We don't want to disturb the position of the plants. You can actually put some on the top of the leaves, because eventually, as and when you water, it's gonna run down. So just don't be worried about putting soil on top of the leaves, because anyway I'm gonna spray now. It should be alright. Okay, so that's done. That's it. Don't spray too much, because it's a kind of a succulent and we don't want a lot of water to succulents, right? So that's one. I'll take a few more and put it over here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just put some more plant cuttings over here. I'm just gonna to just balance the weight. And it's easy for these plants to pick up roots, because this was the same pot which it stayed for like 2 years, so it'll have the same kind of nutrients which will promote the root growth, and also the microorganisms will stay the same. So it's got used to the soil basically, so that's what I'm trying to mean, and it's easy for the plant to get adapted to the soil and produce roots. So that's something which I want to tell you. And do not propagate this plant in water, because I've seen from my experience that it never rooted. Instead it rotted in water. So don't try to propagate this plant with water. This does not do well. Cuttings like these, they've got everything. If you see, they've got the aerial roots, they've got the node, they've got the leaf, and it's also got, this is a new shoot, this is like a new plant. So consider to actually cut this and dip it into rooting hormone, and then directly place it into soil, like cover the entire part of the stem, just leaving the shoots out, and this will become a wonderful plant. So this plant is pretty heavy. So what you got, as and when I was explaining, one was actually popping out. So as and when you plant it, make sure that you give it a bit of a press like this. It's not something which is really hard. Don't give it a hard press, but make sure that the plant's held firmly with the soil. Yeah, because these are pretty heavy. The leaves are like plumpy, so it has the tendency to fall. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is create some more plants. So I'm gonna take some small cuttings like these with the stem, the node, and the leaf, and I'm just gonna place it in this tray. And this is the same potting mix. This is the cocoa peat fiber and a mixture of a normal potting mix. So I'm gonna put a lot of leaves here. All the leaves which I cut are like, I'm gonna put it in this tray, and then I will top it up with some more soil and see. So these leaves are the ones without any rooting hormone. So let's see which one really needs a rooting hormone powder.